Tyson, hey. Good story, Tyson. I think that all of us are really two people at the same time. There's the person that we have in front that everyone else sees, that society recognizes us by. But then there's also the person who we really are deep down inside, and when we're alone. And I'm going to tell you a story about a time when I was 15 years old, and I went from being a well-behaved, straight-A student to someone who committed what some might call minor identity theft. So when I was a sophomore, I'm 15 years old, and all I cared about was projecting an image to other people of the best person that I could possibly be. So I did really well in school. I made sure that I was the top of my class, getting a 4.0, and I was also in general just a well-behaved kid. You know, I never told a lie. Really, the only time I drank alcohol was communion wine with my parents. I was a very well-behaved kid. And I also was starting to get into the idea of comedy and telling jokes at that time, which meant that I was always trying to come up with a wisecrack or a joke for every situation I was in. I really wanted to be the funniest person in any group or any room that I was in. It was also around this time that a lot of my classmates started getting Facebook accounts for the first time. And what I really liked about the concept of Facebook was that it allowed you to, even more so than in your everyday life, project this image of who you want to be for everyone else to see. It allows you to perfectly customize what the rest of society views you as. And that was really attractive to me. And so I spent, weeks and months begging my parents to let me give all my personal information to Mark Zuckerberg so that I could have a Facebook account. They finally let me do it. And it was great. I liked it, because finally I could project who I thought I was to everyone else, but there was one thing missing. And the thing that was missing was that I couldn't tell how other people really viewed me. I could control what I looked like to them, but I couldn't control what they actually thought about me. And then, one day, one of my classmates named Charles, he got his Facebook account suspended. And the reason his Facebook account was suspended was he was sending out too many friend requests at once. This was back in the day when that was considered dangerous internet behavior. Nowadays you have people getting harassed online on Twitter to the point where they're hurt or they have their careers ruined. You have viral challenges that teenagers do that wind up injuring a lot of them, sending them to the hospital. But back then, if you were using a website to find friends, but you were using it to find friends too quickly, that was a red flag. And that's why his account was suspended. And so as soon as his account was suspended, I realized that, I've spent my whole life being an honest, straight-laced human being. Now I have an opportunity to create a fake Facebook account in his name and use it to figure out what my classmates really think of me. Nowadays, you hear lots of stories about people using Facebook to gather information and data under false pretenses or without people's consent. Well, I did that before it was cool. So I created an account in Charles's name, and I was actually surprised by how good I was at doing this, because I'd spent my whole life doing well in school, dedicating myself to homework and exams, and I applied that same level of precision to this new assignment. So I knew the types of things he would post, so I knew how to get his voice and his tone just right. I was able to find photos of him elsewhere on Facebook and use that to craft this perfect, deceptive profile. I even made sure to do this over Labor Day weekend, so that he would be away from his classmates for 3 days and that he wouldn't be able to find out. And I also made sure to block all of his family members. So this was deliberate and premeditated. I was very intentional about this. And I was really taken aback by how easy it was for me to go from being an honest kid who really had never told a lie to someone who was able to execute this so well. I think that part of it was, you spend your whole life telling the truth, and when you finally tell that first lie, it's like a dam breaking, and all the lies that wanted to be told come out at once into this masterpiece of deception. And so I have this fake account, and then I start messaging our classmates, and I steer the conversation towards, what do they really think of Will Isenberg? Now, in my mind, I would get answers that suggested that, all the girls in my class were secretly in love with me. All the guys in my class thought that I was the funniest person in the world. Instead, what I found out was that my classmates really did not like me at all. When I tried hard in class to get good grades, all they saw was someone who was arrogant and a know-it-all. When I was making my jokes and my quips trying to be a young comedian, all they saw was someone who was irritating and desperate for attention. And it crushed me. It's this crushing feeling to have your image of yourself that you've worked so long to perfect suddenly be shattered in front of you. And so I closed down the account. I had no more reason for it anymore. And I spent a long time trying to figure out how to reinvent not just who I was trying to be, not just the mask I was making for society, but try to change who I was deep down. And so instead of trying the hardest to always get the best grades in the class, I spent more time helping other students in their homework if they needed it. And instead of spending so many hours trying to crack jokes and be funny, I learned to just keep my mouth shut and not always try to attract attention to myself. And I never became the most popular kid in my class or in high school, but from that point on, I did start to form really good friendships with some of my classmates. And as I said, I had done this very well. The whole fake Facebook profile for Charles, none of them ever caught me, none of them ever suspected it. If this was a homework assignment, I aced it with a 4.0. And it wasn't until many years later, finally senior year of high school, right when we're all about to graduate, that I finally decided to tell Charles and all my classmates what I had done in sophomore year. And so I described the whole story to them, especially Charles. And at the end of it, Charles looks at me and says, "So that's why you stopped being so annoying."
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you very much.